Hey guys, today we're building an AI chatbot for lawyers that takes new clients via their website right here in this chat window. This saves them tremendous amounts of time. This is how the final Voiceflow agent looks like, with all the steps one by one that I will explain in this video. And the backend is Airtable, where we have a CRM of all the clients one by one that have booked through this chatbot on the website. I'll walk you through each step of building this chatbot, from high-level system design through each prompt one by one. And I'm sharing everything in the links in the description below, including the entire Voiceflow file. But first, let's have a chat with this chatbot, see how it can help us. It asks me about the issue that I want help with today. So I will say hi. I say that my landlady wants me to pay the bills, even though they're included in the rent inside of our contract. So this AI agent now gives me a bit of advice saying, okay, what do I need to do? Saying, okay, it has to be reviewed inside the documents and that the lawyer can advise me on what I have to do. The point here is that it gives me just enough legal advice so that I see that, okay, this law office is competent and know what they're talking about, but at the same time, it doesn't spill the beans. It means it will steer me towards booking a paid consultation. So I will show this to you and I will say, so I'm trying to ask it about what's legal and what not, that she's threatening to cancel the contract, even though it has a fixed time period. And it says, generally fixed term contracts are binding for the agreed period and landlord typically cannot terminate them. The specifics depend on the legal contract, the terms and local laws. The lawyer can review the contract. So again, it shows me, okay, you're on the right side of the law, but still, let's have a look at the contract. Let's have a look at the one by one statements in that contract. And at the same time, this protects the legal firm from giving advice, so to speak, on no grounds because it hasn't seen the documents. It gets all this information from the legal practices documents that you're seeing here that the AI is trained on. So it has specific training on landlord-tenant basics, on the front desk playbook, how should the AI chatbot respond to different questions, and how it should direct me to booking a consultation. Now let's go further and say, okay, yes, proceed to book a consultation. So now that I see that they're competent, I want to continue to book a consultation. So it asks me for a preferred date. How about Wednesday? When are you available? In the afternoon. Now the AI bot in the background will check the lawyer's calendar and give me some free available slots when this is free. So I will say, okay, let's do 1:30 p.m. And now it asks me for more details so that it can book this. My name, my phone number and email. I provide these details to the chatbot and now it will go on and book these. And it will book them both in the CRM that I showed you earlier and send me a calendar request where also the lawyer is invited and an email confirmation, which it will tell me here, okay, your consultation with the lawyer is booked for this and that date. If you've got any other questions, okay, go on. Now let's check the database. And yes, it's confirmed. We can see it here in this record. It has saved my number, my email address and a short summary so that the lawyer can read this before they come on the call. Landlady demanding payment for utility bills even though they're included in the rent. And then some notes so that the lawyer can know what the client has told the chatbot in the chat window. Client facing dispute with landlady over bills, landlady threatening to cancel 12-month fixed term contract. And now if I look into my inbox, a new email appeared summarizing this for me as a client. Thank you for booking a consultation with us. Here's a summary of your issue. Landlady demanding payment and utilities are included. So to proceed with the payment, press this payment link. Once I pay the payment link, which is not included in the demo, the status will be changed here from pending to paid. And the cycle is closed so the lawyer can come into the consultation once this is paid. This AI agent is part of a 30-day challenge where every day I build a different agent in different industries covering different use cases for 30 days. Subscribe to this channel if you don't want to miss on any of these agents, and check out the description where I'm sharing a link to this complete AI agent where you can download it, import it into Voiceflow and hit the ground running straight away with all the connections to Airtable, calendar and email. Now let's get started on how I built this. So we will start with the basics, which is designing the conversation diagram in Miro so we can see which steps are necessary and what actions are being taken at each step. Miro is a simple diagramming tool that lets me draw simple shapes with arrows, so it is not an AI agent yet. It's just like pen and paper if you wish. Now the first step is welcome. and initial guidance. This is the step where the chatbot gathers some initial information from the client, and normally the client explains a few details about the situation in this step. Now we want to be careful here not to give away all the information and still stay within legal limits, because ultimately we want the client to book a consultation with us where we can properly advise them. But we still want to give them enough information such that they see that we are credible and that what we say makes sense and that we can help them. And sometimes clients might ask questions that go beyond just the initial screening. And in this case, we will prompt the chatbot later on to suggest to book a consultation with the client. Once this step is done, we go to the next step, and assuming the client has approved and wants to book the consultation, we want to do the actual consultation booking here, which we call consultation appointment finding. So here, the chatbot will ask the client when they have time and when is it best to schedule a consultation. This step needs to have knowledge about the calendar availability of the lawyer. So this is why we connect them to the calendar booking tool. I painted this here as a database. Ultimately, it will be the database of the calendar, but it was still a database. And the arrow points upwards, meaning that information flows from the calendar booking tool to the consultation tool, to the appointment finding step. Once a proper time has been found, we need a new step here to gather some extra data from the client. So I will call this data collection and appointment booking. So here we need details such as their name, their phone number, their email, everything that we need in order to create an appointment. For this step, we need two connections. We need one connection to the calendar tool, and the other connection will be to Airtable, which is our internal CRM. Airtable is like Google Sheets, but a bit more sophisticated and user-friendly. So then we'll have an arrow that goes down into here. So basically it writes data into the calendar, and another arrow that goes down here that writes data into Airtable. We'll call this calendar, booking tool, and Airtable, which will be our CRM. And the arrows go downwards because the AI chatbot writes data into this, as opposed to the consultation appointment finding step where it read data, where it asked it when are the available time slots. Finally, once this has been done, there is a last step that we call wrap up and goodbye. So what happens at this step is that the chatbot will finally confirm all the details once more, and it will politely say goodbye and end the chat. So it's a quite straightforward flow. We welcome the client and we ask them what they want to talk about. At the same time, we don't want to spill the beans in this sense, and we will try to nudge them to book a paid consultation with us, right? Because this is our business as lawyers, or as the law firm that uses this AI chatbot. And then the next three steps are all about actually finding a proper time slot that is suitable both for the client and for the lawyer in terms of the time and date of the consultation, and then actually booking that consultation and writing the data into all systems required. Now, there is one more tool that we need here that isn't a tool per se. It's called the RAG database, which is basically the knowledge. It's the piece of information that the AI agent will will base its answers on. And we will call this RAG knowledge base. So RAG stands for retrieval augmented generation. It means that here we'll load the documents of the law firm with all the internal processes and how they handle things, and also the type of law they specialize in, so that the chatbot can guide the client initially in a proper way. Now, while this still is a database, the way we want to represent this is through a flowchart element that looks like documents to make it more visual. It is not a tool per se, it's more like a mode of functioning where the LLM, so the system that powers the chatbot in the backend, checks against these documents on every new message that we send it. Whereas these other tools, the calendar tool and Airtable, are being used only at these particular steps where we want to find the consultation block and we want to book the consultation block. Okay, so you can think about this RAG knowledge base in a way like training the chatbot, right? Whereas the other steps, the calendar and Airtable, are more like legs and arms of the chatbot to actually do actions in the real world, so to speak. And now we will map all of these steps inside of Voiceflow, and the task now consists into prompting these steps in a proper way. So here we just outlined the high-level overview. So what are the steps of the conversation? Any typical conversation that a client might have have with a lawyer on their first contact when they want to inquire about the services and how the lawyer might help them. But the quality of the chatbot ultimately resides into how well we prompt each of these steps. Now let's go into Voiceflow. We go to voiceflow.com and it looks very similar. So if you don't have an account, you can create one now. Otherwise, you can sign in. And this is how the dashboard looks like. So now we go up here to projects, and here we click new project. And here we create the project name, give it any name you wish, and click start from scratch. Voiceflow also supports generating these flows via prompting. But because this tutorial is aimed at showing you what the building blocks are and how you build one from scratch, we will focus on that. And once you've built a few ones yourself and you get a good feel of all the building blocks, you can go ahead and use the prompts to generate a complete chatbot. Now, this is the building interface that we have, and it looks similar to Miro. It has these boxes and the arrows. And on the upper left, we have these tools here, which are basically different building blocks that we can use here, right? So one is the AI agent, which we will use now extensively. It is a new addition to Voiceflow. And the other tools are from the time when Voiceflow used to have rigid steps. So for example, a message step, a listen step where it would capture data, logic, where it have if-else statements, and some other tools. Now we will use the agent step here because it combines all of the other tools into one step. So we don't have to worry about specific messages, because the AI agent will know what kind of messages it should write to the client based on the conversation. Also, we won't need a specific step that calls an API, because the AI agent will know when to do this. So think of the agent as kind of like a higher level diagram that encompasses all of these. Now we will go ahead and we will delete this step here, and we will draw our own AI agent here. And for each of these steps, we will have an own AI agent in this set. Okay, so think of it more like prompt, and this prompt does something in that particular step. Now I will just copy the name of this step here right into Voiceflow. So this is how we call this step. And then here I have to select an agent. I don't have one yet, so I create new agent. Here I name it again. And then here I can prompt it and I can tell it what exactly it has to do at this step. Now this is no different than prompting ChatGPT when you're searching for something. The more detailed you are, the better. And the more specific the steps are outlined, the better. Now I've already prepared a prompt beforehand for this demo, and in the first step we will specify the following details. We will first define the role of the agent. You are Georgia, the professional front desk receptionist for a property law practice called Next Legal Advisory. And then I explain how she should talk or how she should write, like this AI agent. Your role is to warmly greet callers, listen to the issue, and provide short surface level guidance that builds trust, right? We don't want to go deep, because that's what we will help them with in the paid consultation. You do not provide full legal advice. Instead, you outline how the practice can help, right? Consultation, formal letters, and so on, and guide the caller toward booking a paid consultation. Your ultimate goal is to convert the caller into a booked and paid consultation. And now I will specify how the AI chatbot should write. And then I will specify the exact steps for this stage. And this is important here because there is this part here called exit conditions, where I can basically define when the AI agents should transition to the next step. So I will call this the caller agrees to book an appointment, and then the description, when should this happen, transition if the caller agrees and is ready to book an appointment. Now, you don't have to write any of this down. I will share the complete Voiceflow file in the link in the description below, together with the links to all of the tools used in this demo, so that you can hit the ground running right away. You can import this file into your Voiceflow dashboard. I will show how to do it at the end. And the complete AI agent will open up, as you see here, with all prompts and everything you need to hit the ground running. Now, let's continue with the next step. Once I've specified the exit condition, there are two more things that I need to do. I can choose the model up here, and the model we will choose will be GPT-4.1 mini, which is very good for these kinds of tasks. And the temperature that we will set will be 0.1, such that it doesn't hallucinate too much and we kind of limit their creativity. So this is what we will do. And in this step here, we have to add a knowledge base. Okay, it asks me, okay, knowledge base is empty. So what I can do here is I click here and I choose add data. So how will the knowledge base look like? I've prepared a few demo PDF documents here for you to show you how the data looks looks like inside the legal practices documentation. Okay, so for example, here they might have a front desk playbook for property law intake and position, right? And then this might be an SOP that they might give to a front desk human agent to walk through these steps with the caller, right? So for example, this is the purpose: provide a brief, confident guidance, capture essentials, and convert into a page. Don't give detailed legal advice or draft documents during, okay? And then the court intake questions: are you a landlord or a tenant? What is the issue type? Is it deposit, repairs, access, and so on? What's the timeline? When did it start? So some very high level details, and these will be then ultimately summarized into the CRM so that before the lawyer jumps on the consultation with the client, they can already see what has been discussed in the initial intake call, right? And then red lines, what they don't have to do or what they shouldn't do, booking and next steps, and so on. So this document is in property law, and then I have prepared two more documents. So landlord tenant basics, high level information. So these are some general legal, let's say, frameworks or things that are legal or illegal within the law, but without going into the details, right? So generic things like, for example, repairs and access, right? You should keep records of all of these things and how the letters should be framed and so on and so forth. And then the last document is about the consultation and fees policies of the legal practice itself. So here the AI chatbot will inform the client what to expect. So it will be a consultation focused on the documents, time and objectives. Of course, they cannot give legal advice over the chat because they don't know the exact documents of this client in particular, right? About the fees, about the rescheduling cancellation. So these are more like operational things to prepare for the call. So what we will do now here in this knowledge base, we will click add data source, and then we will add them from file. We will upload these documents from the local storage that we have, but we can also include URLs here, as you see, or we can also include a sitemap. So it's super practical if you have a big FAQ on your legal practices website or a big blog or something, and it can automatically scrape the whole data. So it's super practical, and also a Zendesk connection. So it's super practical no matter where your data lives. In our case, we will click upload file, and then it will ask me about the location. So I will browse them and add them here. Okay, now they're added. And then LLM chunking strategy. Okay, this is a bit more technical, but don't worry, it's easy. And these options are used for different scenarios depending how big your knowledge base is and where it comes from, right? So for example, the remove HTML and noise step or strategy is used when you connect directly with your sitemap. Or for example, if you have huge documents, very long ones, then for example, the summarize strategy is better because in this case, it will keep only the key points and remove any filler content. So it says here best for dense and lengthy content. Now, in our case, we have just 3 documents, so there's not much. We will use the smart chunking strategy, so it will break up the data into logical sections that are grouped by topic. Now, even though we don't have complex documents with varied topics, we still have different topics, as we saw here. We have one document that is specific for the consultation and fees policies, so the operational one, and then we have one about the landlord tenant basics and one for the property law intake and positioning. So there are 3 big topics here, okay? Even though they're not too long, we will choose smart chunking. But again, it's important to experiment a bit, okay? So there is no one rule fits all, one size fits all. You just pick one that looks like it would fit best to your documents, but then you have to experiment. And of course, if various of these fit, you can also select multiple. But for the sake of this demo and for the scope of it, we will keep smart chunk. And then folder, we can also create a folder. So we will just stick with all data sources for now if this is all right. And now we click import. Okay, now we see up here that it's processing. The status is now done. So now, depending on how big your knowledge base is, this might take longer or shorter. And now we can see that these are the sources. We can have a look at them if we wish, and they open up here. And the knowledge base is all set. So now we can get back to our agent here on the left. We can click on this agent. We can click edit agent. And now we can see that there is no more warning sign next to the knowledge base, which is good because now it is configured. So now we will connect the start step with this step. So once that's done, this is where it starts. Let's go and proceed with the next step, which is consultation and appointment finding. So I will name this the same. I will drag an agent from here down here, and I will call it the same way. Again, same step, new agent, name it this way, and then the instructions. So now everything I say is just, okay, this is how you ask the caller and how you proceed with finding an availability. And I will say, okay, repeat the dates back to them in order to avoid ambiguities. And in the tool usage, I say, okay, use the calendar tool to check for available slots. Now we need one more thing here because the LLM doesn't know what day it is right now. So maybe if we say, okay, how about next Tuesday? It doesn't know that next Tuesday is, in this case, the 2nd of September 2025. It might think it's 2024 or it's March 2024 or something crazy. So we need to implement a function here programmatically, which is super easy, but you do need a bit of tech knowledge for this, or you just copy paste the code that I show you here. Again, it's everything in the complete agent file that's down in the link in the description. So now we'll specify here important. The first thing you'll do is to check what date and time is today by calling the getCurrentDateAndTime function. So now I will define this function by clicking here up here on tools, where you can see that there's already some pre-created integrations. So I'll click plus, and then I will click function, create function. Now here I name this function the way I named it just now, and I enter a short description, get the current date and time before doing anything else. Okay, looks good. And now I specify the code here, which basically I will just, so what I'll do here is I will just return this output. Current date and time is date. So it will get both the day and the time and the year. So everything is good. We don't need input variables. We're good. We can delete them. They're built in. We cannot. So now we can test it. And we can also define the output variables, which is basically this. So then the LLM has access to them. And then the description, the current date and time. And now we test it, we click run, and then we see that it worked. So this is the result. So the current date and time variable is this, Sunday, August 31st, and this is the time in GMT. So this is international time. It is independent of time zone, but we'll need to come back to this later once we do the calendar integration, because the clients always work in their own time zone, okay? Now I can close this. I'm connected to this function, and now I need to connect it with the calendar tool that I have it here in the Miro board that I specified, calendar booking tool. So for this, I click again on tools, API call, new API, and I name it check calendar availability, and the description is checks the calendar availability. Okay, now this is the configuration of the integration. So this is the API call. Now, in order to get the correct request URL, we will have to check the cal.com documentation. And the way cal.com works, it has these slots that you predefine. Let me show you an example on their interface. This is, for example, my meeting page for next operations, and somebody can select a day, let's say Thursday the 4th, and then here they see the available times that they can book a meeting with me, right? So for example, they click here, and then okay, it's 11 a.m., and then they can book it. So now what we will do here is we will connect the chatbot to this data, back to data, to this date slot finding. And we can see it here, get available time slots for an event type. And this is how the connection string looks like. So this is what we have copied. We have copied this thing here. We go back to our chatbot and we type this here. But now there's something else. I need to provide the date and time that the client said. So this is being done via the query parameters. So these are those parameters that come after a question mark. And I need basically 4 different parameters. I need the event type ID. So this event type ID is nothing else than the event that is responsible for this page here. So how do I get this? Well, I go to cal.com and sign in. This is how my dashboard looks like. And then I click on this event, and then I copy the event type ID from the address bar. So it is the string that is right after event type. So now I paste this here. I say question mark, event type ID is this, then start will be the start time. So I have to create a variable for this. How do I do this? At the top, I click plus, and I will call this availability day. So the slots are being checked per day, and the description, the day the client said they were available, and this will be extracted by the LLM, by the AI during the chat. So I don't have to do anything else here. I just specify this description here, and then I use this variable here, and you see it already appears. And then I will say end is the same, because we want to book within the same day. We don't want to book 2 days or something. And then the time zone. So this is being specified in international format. So where I'm in right now is Europe, US. And then we will have to specify one more header here that we can see in the API documentation. And this header is called cal API version. And it's specified down here that this call API version has to always be this number. Okay, so the documentation gives us information on the header as well. So I'll copy this, and then I'll copy this, and we should be good. Now we can test this as well. Again, we click on run, and we have to specify the availability. Now the availability is being specified in international format, in ISO format. We should also specify here in ISO format so that the LLM knows how to format it. So let's say I want to book for September the 2nd. So I will click run. And now here we see the API response. So for this date, the 2nd of September, these are the available time slots. Now this is very good because then the chatbot can use this data to suggest a proper date and time. Here we don't need the knowledge base anymore. So we can deselect this. And then we will proceed with the third step, which is data collection and appointment booking. So here we need these extra information for the appointment booking, like email, name, and so on. So what we'll do now, there was one more thing. Here we have to specify an exit condition, which will be a suitable time slot for the appointment has been found. And this is the description so that it transitions once that's done. And then we connect this exit condition to the next block, which is data collection and appointment booking. Again, create a new agent, same flow. Now here we will specify the following personal details that need to be collected from the client: full name, phone number, email address. Then perform the consultation booking inside Airtable and the calendar. So the tool usage, book consultation via the call API and create the Airtable record with the caller detail. Now let's go step by step and then we will write the exact name of the tool here so that it knows which it is. So we start with the calendar tool, and here we need a different API endpoint because instead reading we need to write. So here we go in the documentation to the top to the booking section, and here we want to create a booking, and this is the endpoint that we need. So we can see everything that we need here. So we need to do a post request into this URL. Okay, post means I write data to the API. I don't read it as get. So here I choose post, I specify this API endpoint, and then I need to specify a data body. So this is basically the actual data that gets sent. So this is an example of how it looks like. So I will copy this, and here in the body field, I will choose raw. So in this case, I paste it here and I can see what type of variables I need. So I will need a variable for the start date for the attendee details. So I will specify them here. So I will say the first variable will be the date and time. I'll say it will be an ISO format, no white spaces. And I'll specify also the client name, the full name, their email, and their phone. So now I can come here and just replace these with the proper variables. So the start will be the booking date and time. The attendee will be the client name. Then the email will be the client email. The time zone will be the time zone that will be the one for the client. And then finally the client phone, which is this. The language we won't need for now, as it will be English, but you can set it if you're in a different geography. Again, I will set the headers, call API version. And now we can test this. We can click on run and we can set some test variables. Again, these variables, they will be extracted by the LLM during the conversation. But now if I'm just doing a test, I need to specify them. So let's say I want to specify an appointment date to be on Tuesday the 2nd. And let's also specify a time, let's say 12:30 p.m., the client name, the client email, and the client phone is this. Now let's run it. So now we run the tool and the time needs to be in UTC, which means international time, so no time zone in this sense. This is how the cal.com API works, and then we get this status here, success, it was booked. And let's say we booked it for 6:30 UTC, which in my local time zone is 9:30. So if I have a look at the calendar, I can see that at 9:30 my local time zone, Europe, Bucharest, this consultation was booked, which is very good. So in this sense, I have to specify this here in the variable so that the LLM knows it. So I say booking date and time in UTC. It should be ISO format and in UTC time zone. I also instructed the LLM to do this. Here I said, okay, make sure that the time zone over here is in UTC and not local time. So be aware of that. So you will adjust the time zone specifically for this. Now this looks good. We disable here listen for other intents. We have disabled this also for the other steps in the conversation. Intents are a concept from NLP, natural language processing, which means that it looks at the sentence and extracts an intent. For example, if the user says, I want to book a consultation, it will extract that. Now, this was before LLMs, before large language models. Now, Voiceflow AI agents already support this out of the box, so I don't have to listen for other intents. We still have to specify an exit condition. And before that, we have to also add an Airtable tool here, which is the CRM connection. So we first go to airtable.com and create a database for this. Now, if you don't have an account yet, you have to sign in. Once you do so, this is how the dashboard looks like. So I click create new base or build an app on your own. Now I name this base. A base is nothing else than a set of tables, right? So it works the same way as Google Sheets. And we can see here that it has the same interface as well. It's a table, it has columns, it has cells where I can write stuff and so on. And I can also expand them, which gives me more like a CRM-like feeling where I can see all of the details and I can edit the stuff here and then it shows up here. What we want to do now is we want to connect this step into the AI chatbot. Now we need some data here. So the fields would be name and so on. So I've already prepared this. This is how the table looks like. It has the following columns: caller name, phone number, email, summary. So the summary that the client wants to go through in the actual appointment, the requested date, the confirmed date, payment status, the status of the booking, and any notes. So ultimately the AI chatbot will write our bookings into this table as well. So this is the internal CRM of the lawyer that they can look through before they go on the call. So for example, here you can see some notes. So they're perfectly prepared next to the calendar booking that we have sent out. Now, how do I connect Voiceflow to this? Let's get back to the agent. We create a new tool, API call, and here we call this book, create a booking in the database CRM Airtable. And here I use a post request, and now I need the connection string to the Airtable database. So how do I get this? I go to this question mark here, and then I click API documentation. And this website here generates an API documentation specifically for this table. Now here on the left, I see the different API functionalities that I have. So what I need here is retrieve a record and list record. So I go to create a record, and it would tell me, okay, this is a post request. Remember, post means create. And this is the connection string. So I copy this and I paste this here in the post URL. And then I need the headers, especially the authentication, which is called authorization. And again, this has a similar format, bearer, and then some API key here that I will get from the Airtable dashboard. So I come back to the table, I click my profile icon here, and then I click on account. And here I'm able to create a new API key. So here I click on go to developer hub, and then I click create token, and then I here click create token again. And here I can set a name for this. So for example, I can call it Voiceflow API key, and then I have to specify the scopes. So data records read and data records write. And then I click on create token. But since I already have an API key for this, I will use this instead. So it will show up here in the dashboard and I will copy it over here, which I have already done. This is my API key. And now the body here, I click on raw. So here I specify the form, and I find this in the API documentation. I copy this, paste this here, and it will also tell me the fields that I need, that I must specify. So caller name, phone number, summary, request date, confirmed date, and so on. And now I come and specify each of them one by one. So caller name or client name, the client's phone number, and so on. So now that I've specified all of the variables here that will be extracted by the chatbot AI and how they fit into the post request of the Airtable API, I can now test it by clicking run. And now I add a few details like client name. Now I click run and I see that the proper record was created. Now what we need is an exit condition, the last step for number 3 data collection. We call this the consultation appointment was booked successfully. And now the final step over here, which we connect the exit condition to, will be the wrap up and goodbye step, where we basically repeat everything back to the client. Again, we create an agent with the same name. We call this wrap up and goodbye. So I'll say, thank the client warmly, summarize the next steps, and then end the chat professionally and close it. Now the exit condition here will be like this. Client says goodbye and wants to end the chat. Again, we pick the correct model and temperature. And then finally, there is one last step over here. Under logic, the end step, we'll connect this over here and we will call this step chat ends. And there's nothing else to configure here. All right, this is how our conversation flow looks like. Now let's test it by clicking here on the start play button. And you can see that the interface changes. So I have one pane here on the lower left, which basically gives me all the steps that the AI agent goes goes through. And then here I can see highlighted in blue the step that it's in. So now it's in the first step. So down here we will see all the steps that it went through. And then here on the right, I have the chat box that I will chat with the AI agent. And we can see the first message of the chatbot. It says, hello and welcome to Next Legal Advisory. I'm Georgia, the front desk receptionist. How can I assist you with your property law issue today? Feel free to give me a brief description, right? So now I can chat with it and say, hi, Georgia. So here I briefly mentioned my issue. I'm saying that I'm subletting the room from my landlady who herself is just renting the place. So she wants me to pay the utility bills even though they're included in our contract. So now I send it over, and then here I can see on the left-hand side all the steps that it went through. And I can see, for example, if something went wrong because it tells me here if it's an info, debug or output message. So now we continue the chat here and it says, okay, thank you for sharing that. So we can see that the chatbot tries to tell me that our lawyers can review the contract and the correspondence and then help you address this effectively. We would like to book a consultation. All right. And now I'm trying to see if it can give me more information on the case and see how it behaves. So I said that she's threatening that she'll cancel the contract before the end date, even though we have a fixed lease of 12 months. Can she do this? So now I'm trying to ask for legal advice. Let's see what the chatbot says. Now the chatbot gives me some information so that I see that they know what they're talking about. So generally a fixed term lease is binding for the agreed period unless there are specific grounds for termination stated in the contract or by law. And our lawyers can examine these terms and advise you on your rights. So again, it steers the conversation from a, let's say, light consultation over to booking a proper consultation. So it shows me, okay, we know what we're talking about. Our lawyers can help you so you can get tailored legal advice on this matter. And now I'm asking, what are the benefits of booking a consultation with you? And here we can see that it actually used the knowledge base in the background. So if we look back at the document about the landlord-tenant basics, there is this question here, why book a consultation? Tailored assessment of your documents and factual timeline. And it says, Next Legal Advisory gives you direct access to property and law lawyers who will thoroughly review your lease and related documents. They provide clear and personal advice and help you understand the legal implications and can assist with drafting formal responses. So this is again here, clear next steps and where appropriate drafting a formal letter. And our last question before that, so I say before that, I'd like to ask you how you're handling the fee payment and the process around that. And it says that once we book a consultation, I can choose from their time slots. And then once I select a suitable time, I'm going to receive a confirmation with the details on how to make a payment securely. And this is stated here, fees and confirmation inside the document that I uploaded in the RAG knowledge base. Fees are quoted at booking and payable via a secure link. So it says how to make the payment securely, which is required upfront to confirm your appointment. And here it says confirmation occurs once payment is received. So the appointment confirmation. After payment, your consultation will be officially scheduled and you'll receive all the necessary information to prepare for the meeting. Then I'm asking, what do I need in order to prepare for the call? And it correctly says that I need a subletting contract and any communications handy. So this is also specified in the document. Preparing for your call, have your agreement, tenancy, and any notices or letters to hand. So the letters in this sense is the communication with the landlady and any other relevant documents. And this allows the lawyer to understand this. Okay, perfect. And then I can proceed. So now I see, okay, these guys, they know what they're talking about. And they say, okay, I can assist you in booking your consultation. Would you like to proceed? Yes, please proceed. So now the exit condition was met and we can see it here in the details. It says, okay, navigating to the client agrees to book an appointment. So this was triggered here via what I said, successfully executed. And I can also see what exactly happened here. So it's navigating to this exit condition, which leads it to the next stage. Then it reaches the book the consultation appointment. So first, as I instructed it to do, it will first call the get current time and date. And then it says, okay, today is Sunday, August 31st, which is perfect. And let me find a time for your consultation. So let's see now, do you have a preferred date or range or what works best for you? So now let's say, okay, let's do Tuesday morning. What's your availability there? So now what it does, it checks with the calendar. So it says, okay, calendar availability check succeeded. And we can see it again here in the description, all good. So you can see it's very nice that we can follow every step of the agent step by step. So then it responds with the available slots, which we can see here. So I can say, okay, which one would I prefer? And I say, okay, let's go with 9:30 with 10 a.m. Let's go with 10 a.m. Now we can see that it has proceeded to the next step here, visually, data collection and appointment setting. Give me all of these details. I say, okay, all my details here. I'll send it my details. And we can see here in the debug window that it has created the booking successfully in the database, and a calendar event was also successfully booked inside of the calendar. And it will tell me this, okay, your consultation is successfully booked for this day at this time, and you'll receive an email confirmation shortly, which will include a payment link for the consultation. Now let's check the database if this is true. And yes, it is. It was booked over here. We can see it. My name, my phone number, email address, some details. The details are as follows. Dispute with landlady about utility bills and lease termination. Perfect. The date and time, which looks good. And the notes, okay, client needs advice on rights and utility bills and so on. So if I'm the lawyer, I can see this, and then I can just take my notes before going into the call. Again, the payment status is pending. So once the client has paid via the payment link, this will be updated. Of course, this is not part of this tutorial. We need an extra connection here with some payment provider like Stripe, but this focuses just on the chatbot creation. And now if I look into my calendar, I can see, okay, 10 a.m. It was booked perfectly. So both the lawyer and the client get this calendar invite. And then if I look into my mailbox as the client, I get an email confirmation over here. And it says, thank you for booking a consultation with us. Here's the summary, dispute with landlady about utility bills and the termination threats. And then to proceed, I can click this payment link, which is not working because it is a demo. Looking forward to assisting you and so on. Now, how do we integrate this into the website? We first have to publish this agent. So we first go here to publish, and then we click publish. So we make it public. So that means it is accessible from outside of Voiceflow dashboard. So now it is building. Okay, perfect. And then this pop-up appears. I click add agent to website, and it gives me this code over here that I can copy, and I can paste it into my website wherever I paste all these add-ons. I'm showing you this in Framer, which is a popular website building website. So here is, for example, my landing page, and I go to settings. You can do this in any other builder. And then here at the bottom, there's this end of body tag code where I can just paste this code from Voiceflow. All right. And then I say save. Then I click publish. Yes, on draft. Now it's updating, and then I go visit this website, and then I can see that here at the bottom there is a new button that appeared called Test Your Agent. So I can rename this in Voiceflow with something different. Ignore the other button. This is for my main website.
Hello,
and here it appears.
Welcome to Next Legal Advisory. I'm Georgia, here to assist you.
It also has voice input or voice output if you want, that you can mute over here. So let's quickly disable this because it can be a bit scary when the customer first reaches it. So you can click to interfaces, and then here modality and interface. Here you can disable the voice out, but depending on your use case, like most of the time, this is recommendable. And then in appearance and style, you can also change the name, the images, the colors to fit your own brand colors, right? So for example, here the header, you can say Georgia from Next Legal Advisory. All right. And then basically this is it. Now you can text with it, just as we saw in the demo in the beginning. So to quickly recap what we did today, we've built an AI chatbot for legal advisory firms that automatically schedules consultations on our website in a chatbot window. So how did we build this? We first went high level into Miro and mapped all the conversation steps that we needed together with the tool connections that were required for each step. This gave us a high level overview to understand exactly the steps that we need based on our advisory firm. Then we used Voiceflow to map these conversational steps into AI agents one by one. And for each agent, we provided a prompt and we provided an exit condition. And then for those steps that required tool usage, we connected them to the respective tools. Like for example, the consultation finding relied on getting the current time and date and checking the calendar availability. And we found the connection strings in the API documentation. We did so too with Airtable, which is a tool similar to Google Sheets, where we stored all the data about our clients, such as their name, phone, email, a short summary of what the chat was about, and a few notes of how the lawyer can best prepare for the consultation. Finally, we publish this code inside our website by copying the code into the respective field. So then finally it appears over here and can be used by anybody who wants to book an appointment very easily. If you enjoyed this video, this is part of a challenge of 30 AI agents in 30 days, where every day of these 30 days, I'm building a new AI agent, whether being a chatbot or voice in different industries, showcasing different use cases. Feel free to subscribe to this channel if you enjoyed it to not miss out on any of the new agents, and check out the links in the description below where I'm sharing the complete file that you can import into Voiceflow together with links to all the other tools. I hope to see you in the next one. Cheers!